You're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite low.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why buying a house right now is an absolutely horrible idea. Now, ultimately, it's up to you individually to decide when it's time to purchase a house. However, there are millions and millions of Americans that are completely frustrated and confused as to whether or not they should purchase a house. Is the housing market going to crash? Are prices going to go down for existing homes? Are they not going to go down? Are interest rates going to go down? What should you do? And unfortunately, guys, the reality is no matter what happens next, there's a whole bunch of mosquitoes where I'm walking. You see those dunes back there? Horrible, horrible. Unbelievable. But regardless, whatever happens next, we know that the American dream of home ownership has been taken from us, guys. There is no affordable American dream anymore. And so today we'll go over the 5 things. We'll go over PE ratio, payment to income ratio, the massive historical equity run-up. We'll go over the job market and the fact that every indicator right now is spelling an incoming recession. And if you guys can, for me coming out here, battling the mosquitoes, I don't know if you guys can see all the mosquitoes, but literally, they are everywhere. For all of the effort, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below. But either way, you guys, I hope this gives you something else to consider other than the normal cheerleading that we hear everywhere. So enjoy. Starting with PE ratio, let me throw up a chart on the screen so you guys can see how bad it is right now. We have historically high PE ratio, which is basically the price of the houses, a price of the average house compared to the annual earnings of someone. So right now we're sitting at a historical high of 7.4. So 7.4 years of someone's salary. And you know as well as I, no one's using 100% of their salary to pay towards their mortgage. So realistically, guys, the fact that it's 7.4 right now means that if you purchase right now, essentially you're shackling yourself to your house. You're trapping yourself. It's essentially a prison. Zillow has come out and said 15 to 20 years depending on the metro area. So again, when we look back at 2007, 2008, the PE ratio never even got to 7. It got to 6.9. And for the people that make the argument like we're going through something similar to the 70s and 80s, look at the PE ratio back then. It was super duper low. It was in the 3s and 4s. So essentially what I'm saying is the consumer was much stronger back then, and quite frankly, the fact that the PE ratio is so bad right now and no one is talking about it is astonishing. But that is the #1 thing, you guys, and I'm always trying to keep your attention on price. Too many people are being sold on payment. We see that happening with new homes. You want to look at the price. The price is important. If anything happens, the recession, unhinged unemployment, anything like that, and the economy goes, home prices are gonna start going down. We already see it with new construction homes, and we already see it in commercial real estate. And I'll be honest, guys, I have seen prices go down numerous times throughout my adult life. So it would be nothing new. The fact that people wanna act like home prices going down is new or only happened once, I just don't understand it. Do me a favor, guys. I really want you to think about this. Why are people saying that home prices have only gone down one time? Think about it. We have historical proof, historical precedent that that's not true. They've gone down several times. And again, it's localized depending on the metro area. But again, I want you guys to understand that purchasing right now would be purchasing with a historically high price to earnings ratio. #2, and I had to sit down for this one, payment to income ratio. Right now, you guys, the payment to income ratio is 40%, actually over 40%. 40% of your gross income, not your net income, 40% of your gross income goes towards paying your principal and your interest only, not your taxes and not your insurance. So the payment to income ratio right now is extremely, extremely awful. Now the problem with that is any disruption in income, any hours lost, any overtime lost, commission lost, if things are that tight, there's not a lot of wiggle room, and if your payment is too high, you can't cash flow, odds are you're gonna be late on your mortgage. If you're late on your mortgage, you could do a forbearance. It will hurt your credit. You could do a short sell, you could sell. But either way, you guys, you don't wanna get trapped in the honeymoon phase of purchasing a house and disregard the payment. Remember, the payment sticks with you for 30 years. It stays around for an awful long time, wouldn't you say? 30 years. So think about that. Don't make any rash decisions. And just to let you guys know just how out of whack the payment to income ratio is, let me read the last paragraph real quick. Now, in order for things to get back to affordability, okay, and this is wild, it would take a combination of interest rates to go down 4.4%, or for us to have a 62% raise in median household income, or a 38% decline. Okay, so a 38% decline. But remember, they had assumable mortgages back then. So buyers were circumventing the high interest rates because assumable mortgages were legal. Right now, that's not the case, except with FHA, VA, and conventional. And also put this in perspective, you guys, the consumer is way different from the 70s and 80s. Now, in just 2 years, the average mortgage payment, and think about this, has gone up over $1,000. In just 2 years, over $1,000. So again, if you rush purchasing right now, and you're not purchasing wisely, you're not using the data, you're not finding something with wedge, with cash flow, you're not taking your time, it's possible you allow yourself to get trapped in a super high payment where you have no wiggle room as far as income decline, and then you're stuck with that super high payment. If you think you can refinance, remember, refinancing, you start your amortization schedule over again, and you have to pay all of the fees all over again, plus you have to qualify, so you can't just refinance. Regardless, you guys, number 2 was the payment to income ratio being absolutely wacko. Number 3, the world's biggest asset bubble. And when we look at the CPI and Case-Shiller, we can see much easier, much clearer over the PE ratio just how bad this housing market bubble is. The equity run-up is so unhealthy, so substantially unhealthy, it's crazy to think. And again, looking at this graph, look at the 70s and 80s, and here's where we really see the lack of consumer strength, okay? You can see that here. Look at how close those lines are together. The divergence starts to happen later on, and then it just blows up. Personally, I don't believe that the consumer can support these values, and I understand the rules of supply and demand. And quite frankly, you guys, as far as prices right now, as long as we have elevated interest rates, the rules of supply and demand are working in the favor of prices going down, because right now we have more inventory growth than demand. Throughout this entire year of 2023, and this was shocking, we had more demand than inventory. So even though demand was wrecked and completely crushed, inventory was so low that it didn't matter. There was still more buying demand. We already see new home values going down once again, 15.7%. And that's a price crash, because when we talk about the buying incentives that they're offering, that they're not reporting on their appraisals, y'all, home prices with new homes are absolutely crashing because they have to sell. It's the forced selling. And that brings me to the next thing. But regardless, you guys, number 3 is the astronomic, outrageous housing market bubble that we are in. Number 4, the job market. Now, you may think the job market right now is super strong, but obviously, guys, the Federal Reserve is trying to cripple the labor market. I mean, Jerome Powell has told us several times. Now, the thing is, as a result of that, once things do break, I'm telling you guys, unless you've been through something like this before, you don't know what it's like not to be able to get a job. I know what that's like, and it's absolutely devastating. Let me show you guys a couple articles on what's going on with the job market. Starting with Bloomberg, the job market slowdown is getting hard to ignore. The payrolls data still looks fine, but under the hood are signs of deteriorating for the growing number of people who are unemployed and keen to switch jobs. So is it here yet? No, it's not, and that's what's so important to understand. Any type of turmoil that we've seen so far has been with a historic low unemployment rate. Again, everything, commercial real estate meltdown, all of this stuff, guys, no unemployment. So when it finally starts to break, that's when we're gonna start seeing those forced sellers. Now, if the job market doesn't break and the job market somehow sustains and we all start making more wages, up to about 62% like we just went over, well then maybe things will come back to balance. But regardless, the job market right now is completely under attack, and quite frankly, none of us knows whether or not we're gonna be able to keep our job once the recession hits. One more article. US applications for jobless claims rose in a labor market that remains very healthy. More Americans filed for jobless claims last week, and while the labor market remains broadly healthy, there have been recent signs that it may finally be cooling. And let's not forget, you guys, okay, most of the job growth that we see is part-time jobs and government jobs. We're losing full-time jobs. Now, will that switch going into 2024? Perhaps, but right now it's not. And right now, Jerome Powell has told us that we're going to have more unemployment, and he does not want wages to go up too much, which is exactly what we would need to sustain the prices. Something's going to happen. I believe the labor market is going to be a huge ingredient to whatever happens in the future. No matter what happens, watch the labor market. It is crumbling apart, still healthy, hasn't happened yet, but keep your eyes on it. Number 5, and I had to take a break from the mosquitoes. They are absolutely destroying me. Again, if you want me to continue doing these videos, like the video, let me know in the comment section below. I love pushing myself. I love coming out here, doing this type of effort. Number 5, which is the incoming recession. And this is not something that we are basing on feelings. If we look at the historical precedent and we look at the facts of the situation, we know when we look at this chart, the 10 and the 3 month, whenever this has inverted, it has led to recession 100% of the time. Look at how inverted the 10 and the 3 month is. Now, this might be a lot better to actually look at versus the 10 and the 2, but we are highly inverted right now. Economic warnings of an incoming recession, which basically is job loss. And not only that, guys, I want people to understand that things take time. Now, this is taking a little bit longer to shake out than I personally thought, but when we think about how much money was printed through COVID, it makes sense that it's taking a little bit of time. So to put this in perspective, let me throw this chart up. You can see going back to 1978, it was 17 months. Going to 1980, it was 9 months. 1989, it was 15 months. 2010 months. Now, the Great Financial Crisis was 22 months. A lot of people, including myself, got blindsided. Do you guys think that something similar is happening like that right now? Comment below. Do you think people are going to get blindsided? I think so. In fact, I think people are already blindsided when you don't take into consideration the historical precedent of recession warnings. Now, 2019, it was 10 months. They say in order to have a recession, people can't see that coming. So maybe that's what is happening right now. Too many people were seeing the recession coming, so it didn't come. Either way, you guys, there was a ton of money printed through COVID. If you want to go buy a house right now, go ahead and do it. Now, I'll tell you though, what I'm doing, I'm renting right now, looking for a house. I'm looking for houses that have wedge, cash flow, something that I love, but something that has a good price. Price is a huge thing for me. I'm not going to use my emotions to purchase a house. I'm going to use a market analysis, and I'm going to use great professionals to help me with this process. Now, other than that, guys, let me know if I missed anything. Let me know your opinions on what I covered. We don't know what's going to happen next exactly, but there are certain facts that we can review that would give us caution on how to move forward. Now, other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.
I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do.
Just close the door. Close the door.